I'd like to say a little bit about the connection or the correspondence between Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly this verse. It's the details that are described in verse 24 are not found in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's details of events that took place during the life of the Pandavas and Queen Kunti and so forth. Though all of that's in Mahabharata. And just a little appreciation. During Kartik month, a group of us went to Udupi, which is the headquarters, or was the headquarters of Madhvacharya. And so we heard a lot about Madhvacharya's life, like a lot about Madhvacharya's life. And one of the things about Madhvacharya's life was when he was young, his father, Madhyageha, was from a Brahmin family that came from the north of India, and they were particularly keen on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's called a Bhagavat Sampradaya. So Madhva, was brought up in a family where his father was really celebrated speaker on Srimad Bhagavatam. At the same time, Madhvacharya, being who he was, he had a capacity he had a big library, had a capacity to know so many things from so many scriptures, and he particularly gave value to Mahabharata. He wrote a very celebrated commentary, extensive commentary on Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnayas. And Madhva, at least some of his biographers say, he placed even greater value in Mahabharata as far as being directly authoritative and so forth, not only because it was compiled by Vyas, of course Srimad Bhagavatam was also, but the histories in Mahabharata, he personally, or his sampradaya, placed great value in the histories of Mahabharata. Now, that's a little contrasting with Gaudiya followers. The line of Lord Chaitanya is from the line of Madhvacharya, but it's a branch. And it's allowed that branches can be a little different than the trunk. It's called Shakha Beda. Shakha means a branch. So in our Gaudiya line, special merit is given to Srimad Bhagavatam for many reasons. But the Amala Pramana, the spotless evidence, or Amala Purana, both are described sometimes in Padma Purana elsewhere. And so we place special value in Srimad Bhagavatam. For us, Srimad Bhagavatam, girls, don't sit right in the doorway because then people can't get in. Don't sit right in the doorway because then people can't get in. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Don't sit where people can't get in. I'm a police officer conducting traffic here. Thank you very much. No. Don't sit in the middle. Be nice. Be kind to your late coming guests. Okay, back to Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahabharata. We place the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu place Srimad Bhagavatam as like the Supreme Court. It's the final authority. That's it. And if it doesn't match Srimad Bhagavatam, it just isn't quite the same, doesn't carry quite the same weight. Like here's a for example. For example, at the end of Srimad Bhagavatam, what was the destination of the Pandavas? Or at the end of Mahabharata, what was the destination of the Pandavas? Mahabharata speaks of the heaven, they ascended to heaven. And the Bhagavatam is, they're eternal associates of Krishna. That's not where they went. They went to the spiritual world. They're with Krishna eternally. Wherever Krishna is, that's where they are. They're with Krishna. So there's little points of emphasis that are different between the two. But the reason I'm going into this is the verse for this evening. Here's the verse for this evening, text 24. It speaks of events that aren't described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and they are described in Mahabharata extensively. So this is going to be kind of like a Mahabharata class after the verse. And the scene is, there's different, the flow of Kunti's prayers is like waves of a river, and sometimes this is prominent, she's emphasizing this thing. Sometimes that's prominent, she's emphasizing that thing. In this particular case, she's emphasizing how she and her sons were protected, and Draupadi also. They're all protected by Krishna. So the scene, if you sit right there, people won't be able to get in. Please don't sit right there, because then people can't get in. In fact, let's do the, those of you that like to lean against the chair, that's fine. Everyone else, it doesn't have a chair behind you. Mataji, come forward. Prabhu, come forward. Yeah, you're yourself, because people come in late, and you know what it's like, and I'll have to be a traffic cop. I don't like being a traffic cop. I tried anyways. Okay, so there's been different moods in the prayers that she has expressed. The starting point was the mysteries of apparent contradictions within Krishna, without listing them. Apparent contradictions. He's inside of everything, he's outside of everything. You know, Upanishadic double talk, I call it. You know, there's, I don't understand this, but then she does understand. And, you know, the great sages that are expert in discerning matter from spirit, and so many that expert in the Vedas, and they can't understand you. How is a lady like me going to understand you? But she understands, because she's using a different instrument than her intellectual acumen. She's using her bhakti, and things are revealed through bhakti to her. So she understands. But predominantly, the mood of Kunti is humility and profound appreciation for Krishna. She has profound appreciation for Krishna and those dear to Krishna. We heard yesterday evening about her particular appreciation for Devaki and Vasudeva, of course, but Devaki because she had the good fortune of having Krishna within her womb. How fortunate was Devaki. Very exalted personality. And she's honoring, as an exalted Vaishnava will do, she's honoring the Vaishnavas without restraint. And they're honored because of their connection with Krishna. And now this evening's verse, you see on the screen here, she's going to honor how Krishna protected. So one of the features of the Supreme Lord is he protects his devotees. Palana. No. Palana. What does Palana mean? Prithu Maharaj was a Shaktivesh avatar. Shaktivesh avatar means an avatar embodying or bearing one of the Lord's own potencies. And one of his own potencies is the potency of protection. So Prithu Maharaj is a bearer of the Lord's Palana Shakti. He's a Shaktivesh avatar. Prithu. And so he protected. And Krishna protects. He's the source of all protection. And she's appreciating how he protected them. She and her sons again and again and again. And Draupadi again and again and again. So she's going to list the sense that she feels protected. Now the scene is Krishna's about to head back to Dwarka. You know the scene? No? Okay, good. After the Kurukshetra battle was finished, it was time to have a new king. Because actually the rightful king was the son of Pandu. But the usurpers usurped the kingdom by cheating and clever means, gambling and this and that and the other thing. There was a battle. There was an attempt to not have the battle. Krishna went on behalf of the Pandavas to appeal to Duryodhana for no battle, peace, at their request. And he said no. Essentially, I can't live on the same planet with those 5 brothers. I won't give them, you know the story, as much land as you could fit under the head of a pin. You know, give them 5 states, give them 5 cities, give them 5 villages. War. He tried, but Duryodhana was so inimical. There was war. And many things happened. We're going to cover some of the events during the war because that's one of the things that Kunti is saying, that they were protected. By Krishna during the battle. We'll go over some of the scenes. But when it was all over, they had to have a coronation ceremony. And the coronation ceremony of the new king has a procedure. And the procedure is, along with a particular yagya and all those rituals, there's a practice, a characteristic practice of, don't sit right there because people have to get in. Thank you. Because there's a practice of the most exalted person in the assembly was Grandfather Bhishma. So the elder, senior person in the assembly would stand before everybody and make a declaration. Who's the most elevated soul or person here? Because many, many persons came from all over the country. And Bhishma stood and he spoke about Krishna. It was his heart's delight to speak in a public assembly like this about the glories of Krishna. But there was one person in the assembly that irritated him to no end. Who was that? Shishupal. So, see, he interrupted Bhishma and started speaking vilification about Krishna. And the vilification was so severe that Bhima picked up his club. He was going to smash him. Krishna stopped him. Let him go on. Arjuna picked up his bow and arrow, stopped him. Let him go on. See what happens? Everybody's got to sit right in the middle of it. Thank you very much. So, because Krishna had made a promise to Shishupal's mother, because they're all relatives. Did you know that? Krishna was a cousin of the Pandavas, and Shishupal was a cousin of the Pandavas and Krishna. They're all part of a big family, the same dynasty. They're all cousins. They had other cousins. Uddhava was a cousin. I mean, there's so many cousins. One time you take a look and see the family tree. It's like a lot of people. They're all related. So this is a battle was just fought between two cousin brothers. And now here comes another cousin vilifying his cousin, Krishna. And the other cousins wanted to finish him. She's very peaceful. Unique. You're fortunate. No? She won't be like that for long. Okay. You know what happened? Krishna just, after 100 times, because he had promised his mother, unless he makes vilification 100 times, I won't kill him. He did it 100 times. Probably had some counter beads and 100 times and finished him. And then they cleaned up the bloody mess and went on with the installation. This part is in the Bhagavatam. That part's in Mahabharata. The part that's in the Bhagavatam is after all that happened, Narada Muni was in the assembly. They were taking part in the coronation. And Yudhishthira took the opportunity to ask Narada Muni, how did this happen? Not how did he get killed, but we saw he got liberation. We all saw it right in front of us. The speaking part of his mouth was vilifying Krishna got chopped, and the soul went up in the air and merged into Krishna's body. He was a bad guy. How did he get liberation? Great learned sages and austere people, yogis, and they can try for lifetimes. They don't get. Look at what happened. How did it happen? It's a nice question. It leads into. It leads into a whole section of Namabas, because that's what Shishupal was doing. He was saying Krishna's name again and again, Krishna, 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 but in scorn. There's different categories of Namabas, and that's one of them, scorn and derision. So he was very expert at it. He was chanting Namabas. Because of his Namabas, he got liberation. Well, he got liberation because he was killed by Krishna. He got freed from the reactions of those sins and then was killed by Krishna, so he got liberation. And so after Shishupal was finished, they had a big festival, the installation, Rajasuya Yagya. Many, many, many persons. There's a description in Mahabharata. And then we're back to Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it's time for Krishna to go back to Dwarka. That's the scene. So the lead picture is where we started from. It didn't show the one just a moment ago, but Krishna's on his chariot. Daruka is ready to take him all the way back to Dwarka. It's a long ride from Hastinapur, from Delhi to Dwarka. It's not around the corner. It's a big, big journey. but they were going to go by chariot. And all the citizens in Hastinapur were gathered to see Krishna off. It's just culture. A VIP comes and you receive him nicely. When the VIP departs, you see him off before he goes. It's just culture. But besides love. And Kunti couldn't bear it. So Kunti, being the queen, the mother of the king, had privileges. She weaved her way through the crowd and went right before Krishna's chariot and said everything except, please don't go. But she was saying, please don't go, in essence. But she's expressing her heart with feelings, anticipating separation, which intensifies feelings of love. And she says many nice things, and here's one of those things. So what we've been doing, for those of you who attended the other ones, other classes, there's a recording. It's very nice. You can sing responsibly, sung twice. And the singer is Sri Rupa. She has a nice voice. She has some friends, little music that goes along with her nice singing. And you can listen to the verse twice.
Vishan Mahagni Purushada Darshana Satsabhaya Vanavasa Pichata Mridhi Mridhi Nikamaharatasvato Jamyastratascha Harithi Rakshita Vishan Mahagni Purushada Darshana Satsabhaya Vanavasa Krichrata Mridhi Mridhi Nikamaharatasvato Yastataschas Mahagni Vishan Mahagni Purushada Darshanan Asatsabhaya Vanavasa Krichrata Mridhi Mridhi Nikamaharatasvato Taschas Maharithi Rakshita Vishan Mahagni Purushada Darshana Asatsabhaya Vanavasa Krichrata Mridhi Mridhi Nikamaharatasvato Yastataschas Maharithi Rakshita.
The presentation is going to go through each of these words, but it starts with poison cake. Vishan, poison, or Vishat, poison cake. My dear Krishna, your lordship has protected us from a poison cake. Mahagne, great fire. Purushada, Darshanat, Purushada is a cannibal. Asat Sabhaya, the vicious assembly. From suffering during our exile in the forest, Vanavasa Krishtrata, and from the battle where great generals fought, Mride Mride Neka, Maha Rata Strato. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashvatthama, the son of Droni, Astratas, Cha. So she's feeling protected. And you know what the painting is. It's the wife of Vyas carrying the child in her womb that didn't want to come out of her womb, but because Krishna promised his protection, Shukadev Goswami came out of the womb. And there, of course, there are different situations where Krishna gives his protection. And here in this verse, let's look at the Sanskrit, Vishat. Vishat is the poison cake. The diabolical Duryodhana Mahabharata describes that the Pandavas were born in the forest, but the father of the Pandavas, Pandu, died. He liked being in the forest, although he was the king. He liked being in the forest, and so they were in the forest, and he died in the forest. And so there were 5 strapping young teenagers, sons of the king, what to do. So they asked Vyas what to do, because Vyas was their guru. And Vyas said, go back to the capital. And so they did what Vyas recommended. And when they got back, boys will be boys. They would do boy things. They would sometimes wrestle. And Bhima was so powerful that when they'd wrestle, he just like tossed the other 100 sons of Duryodhana up in the air and playfully drive Duryodhana mad. So Duryodhana came up with a bright idea of killing Bhima, because Bhima has another name that starts with a V. Do you know what Bhima's other name is? Vrikodar. What's the meaning? Ferocious eater. Vrikodar. Very good. So he was known for eating a lot. Voracious eater. And he made a plan. It described to his father, to the blind Dhritarashtra, who said, no, don't do it. He convinced his father, said, I'm going to do it anyways. Okay, do it. So they were sent to they went to his summer home, and then the sporting activities were going on, and then they served a big feast. And in the big feast was cake. And they put Duryodhana put enough poison in the cake to kill 10 horses. And at the end of the day, there was time to go back to the palace. He was tired. So he just wanted to take a little nap by the side of the Ganges. That was the cue for Duryodhana to come and tie him up in ropes and roll him into the river so he would drown, poisoned and drown. But as fate would have it, the body of Bhima was carried and carried and carried by the course of the river to go to a place that carried, there's Bila Swarga that goes down to the nether region. Bila means whole. To a nether region. And there in the nether region, this painting shows, there were Nagas, means snakes. And the Nagas saw, wow, there's meal. So they started biting him and biting him and biting him. And the poison of the Nagas was the exact antidote for the poison of the cake. So the poison of the cake was neutralized. And Bhima then came out of his, stupor and did a battle with the Nagas. Rightly so, Kunti is attributing the rescuing of Bhima from the poisoned cake to Krishna. One could say, no, it was the Nagas, or it was fate, or it was circumstantial. It wasn't Krishna. In any case, it wasn't Krishna. But she understands differently. The cause of all causes, especially in the life of the devotees, is that Krishna gives us protection. So there's reference, I'm making the point again, for those who came a little later. She's making reference to pastimes that aren't described in the Bhagavatam, but they are described in Mahabharata. So when the poison cake didn't work, Duryodhana, with the assistance of one of his cousin brothers, came up with a really great idea. Let's build a house buy a summer place where there's a big festival in that summer place, and will build the house with highly flammable material, soaked in material lacquer, that when you touch a match to it, the house will immediately go up in flames. So that plan was also run by Duryodhana, or by Dhritarashtra, who said no and then eventually said yes. There's details, lots of intrigue in all of this. Now, fortunately for them, they were already, the king of the Nagas told Bhima everything that happened, how he was poisoned, etc., because he knew. So when Bhima came back and told Yudhishthira and his other brothers what had happened, it was a murder plot, they wanted to fight. And Yudhishthira advised, this isn't the right time. We've been off in the forest for so long. They've built their whole network of supporters. This isn't the right time to do something. Just wait for the right time. So they waited because they listened to their elder brother. They were like, those American fellows that don't care about elder brothers. It's more about, I'm the smartest guy in the room, right? They had that culture. So after a while, the desire was not just to kill Bhima, but to kill all of them. So the House of Black was planned. The Pandavas were suspicious, but they accepted it. And on their way out, in codes, speaking in enigmatic language, Uncle Vidura informed them that there's a plan to take your life with fire. And no one understood. Kunti didn't understand. What's he talking about? I'll tell you later. He told them, there's a plan to kill us by a fire on a certain festival day. So Vidura sent a man that was very expert at building tunnels. So in the house, there was a hole in the floor, and that was created, and then a tunnel so they could escape when they wanted to escape. And when it was time for the house to be burnt into flames, the signal went to the Pandavas, tonight's the night. So they went through the tunnel, and when they got to the other end of the tunnel, guess who was there? Uncle Vidura, with a boat, to take them on the other side of the river, and then many other events happened. But Vidura was, he was a spy. He knew the inside story of the skullduggery of Duryodhana and his buddies. So he was protecting them. But of course, he, as a devotee of Krishna, is doing whatever he does for the pleasure of Krishna, because Krishna wants the protection of the Pandavas, his dear devotees. So you protected us from a great fire. And when they got to the other side, and the boat that Vidura took them to the other side of the river, they were tired. It was late at night. And so Bhima carried all of his brothers and his mother on his big shoulders, going deep into the forest. And they came across this giant cannibal. He's got a name that doesn't look nice. Hidimba. And Hidimba thought, oh, good, my dinner. And so Bhima had battle with Hidimba and finished him. So where's the strength of anyone? Where's the strength of anybody come from? The strength of Bhima comes from the same place the strength of Arjuna comes from, the same thing. Any one of us that has any ability to do anything. Where's her young girl that was singing nicely when we came in? Is she here? Is your daughter here? She's out. So he has a son and a daughter They're good at singing and playing mridanga enthusiastically like anything. So where does that ability come from? Or your wife prepared nice prasadam, or had some people also bring something. So where's the ability to prepare nice prasadam come from? Etc. Ability comes from Krishna. Just like when Arjuna was gone for a long time, he was sent by Yudhisthira, his elder brother. I have this premonition that Krishna is going to leave. Go to Dwarka and check it out. He's gone a long time. There's a whole description in the first canto. And finally came back tearful, looked like a wreck. And he described what happened, that while I was bringing the wives of Krishna to protect them, they were attacked by some cowherd men with sticks. And I, who defeated so many great warriors on the battlefield, couldn't stop these cowherd men with sticks. I've understood the ability to do what I did on the battlefield came from Krishna. It wasn't me. Krishna is the ability in man, he says in Bhagavad Gita. So many things he says in Bhagavad Gita, but he's the ability. So the ability for Bhima to defeat Hidimba came from Krishna. No, she didn't say all that. She just said, you protected us from cannibals. And the asat sabhaya, sabha means assembly, and asat means non-reality or fiction or vicious assembly. This is a painting of the vicious assembly, where through the gambling described in Mahabharata, there you see piled up is all the ornaments and gold paraphernalia of the Pandavas. They lost everything. And now here they're losing Draupadi. And up on the big seat, that's the blind Dhritarashtra. And trying to strip her naked, that's Dushasana. And there's Karna next to Duryodhana, they're best of buddies, really enjoying seeing Draupadi disgraced in a public assembly. You all know what happened. She is very powerful. She's a gentle lady, but she's also Kshatriya-like. We'll hear a little bit later. One punch, one sako, she knocked Jayadratha flat on the ground when he tried to approach her and, defile her. She's a powerful lady. So she was trying to stop Dushasana, but she realized it's not possible because the order was strip her naked. She belongs to us now, strip her naked. Horrible people. So she raised both arms. Hey Krishna, hey Govinda. Krishna came, and Krishna protected her in the vicious assembly. Here's another, painting of the same. She's not holding her hands up in the air, but there's Krishna protecting her. The Pandavas on the right side holding their head. What a horrible thing. And blind Dhritarashtra in the background, and others just sitting there, complacent. But Krishna protected her. And then another phrase that's in her verse is Vana, Vasa, Krishtratat, sufferings during her exile in the forest. There's the Pandavas, and there's Queen Kunti. I don't see Draupadi, but she's with them, and one sage. Don't know who the sage is. But sufferings during their exile. So many, many ordeals they had to undergo while living in the forest, but Krishna was there to protect them at every step. And Maha Rata Astrata. Astra means weapons. The battle where great generals fought. And Krishna was there directing the show. Not only the chariot driver of Arjuna, but ultimately by his protective potency, so she's feeling protected because of Krishna's protective potency, his Palana Shakti. They were protected time and again. And went through a little bit of an example because there's a specific event, very nice event, where Krishna is protecting Arjuna from Bhishma's weapons. You know the story, right? Kind of? Okay. When Bhishma was born, who is Bhishma the son of? Santanu and Ganga, right? Santanu and Mother Ganga, the river Ganga. Santanu was the king. And so he was the son of the king. And he was given the name Devarata. But when he, the son, found out that his father had a desire to marry a second queen, and the father of the second queen wasn't going to allow his father to marry the second queen, it's a long story. Long story. But Satyavati had received a benediction from Parashara Muni that her son would become the king. So the father, the fisherman, who was the father of Satyavati, when the king said, I want to marry your daughter, can I have your daughter's hand in marriage? He said, no. That was kind of unusual. So he was a follower of Vedic code. He didn't just steal her away or something. So he went home sad, became sad, and his son, Devarata, wanted to know, why is he so sad? He wants to marry a second queen, and the fisherman, the father of the girl, said no. It's a long story. So he went to the father and said, why not? He said, my daughter has this benediction that her son will become the king, and you're the first son of the king, so that means you're entitled to become the king. Then I take a vow, I won't become king. Still the answer is no. Really? What's the answer? No. Because if you marry and you have a child before my daughter has a child, then your son will become the king. Okay, I'll take a second vow. I won't marry. Okay, my daughter can marry your father. And his son went back and told Dad, guess what? Satyavati is yours. The fisherman said, okay. So from that time, his name had a name change. Bhishma means the great vow. So because he always upheld his vow. He always upheld his vow. He always upheld his vow. There's many, many, many things about how he always upheld his vow without going into the lengths of Mahabharata. However, something happened on day 8 of the battle of Kurukshetra. What happened was Bhishma was the commander-in-chief of the armies of Duryodhana. Duryodhana went to Bhishma's tent that night, day 8, and said, Bhishma, you're commander-in-chief and you're not doing your duty, and you're an upholder of your duty, but you're not doing your duty because you have so much affection for the Pandavas. You're not fighting with your full capacity. Bhishma said, very well, I'll take a vow. And I'd never break my vow. See these 5 arrows? Take them with you. When you come see me every morning as you do, tomorrow morning bring these 5 arrows. And with these 5 arrows, I will kill the 5 Pandavas. Yay! Took a vow. Bhishma doesn't break his vow. But Krishna, being omniscient, knew of the vow. You know the story, right? Okay. So Krishna said to Arjuna, "Oh, Arjuna, do you remember when you saved Duryodhana's life? There's a big battle with a Gandharva, and you defeated the Gandharva, and you saved Duryodhana's life, and he felt so indebted and said, you just ask him from me anything you want, and it's yours." And Arjuna said later, "I don't need anything right now." Remember that, Arjuna? Remember that? So now is the time. You go to Duryodhana's tent and remind him of the promise that he made. And when he says yes, you ask him for those 5 arrows. And he'll know what you mean. So Arjuna did. Duryodhana, when he came, he said, "Oh, yes, I remember that vow. Would you like the kingdom?" No. Just give me those 5 arrows. So he gave the 5 arrows. So the next morning, when Duryodhana came to meet grandfather Bhishma, he didn't have the 5 arrows. And Bhishma said, "Where are those arrows?" He said, "Oh, last night after you and I met, Arjuna came and asked me for those 5 arrows." And Duryodhana did some quick math. Bhishma did some quick math and said, this is Krishna's doing. So you know what? I'm going to take another vow because Krishna made me break my vow, and I never break my vow. I'm going to make Krishna break his vow. And the vow I'm going to take is, by the end of today, either I will kill Arjuna or Krishna will break his vow. Either I will kill Arjuna, his dearmost friend, or Krishna will break his vow. Krishna's vow was, I won't fight. So, big battle, Arjuna being the main target for Bhishma's arrows, and Bhishma's an invincible warrior. And Arjuna firing his arrows, but instead of the arrows hitting Arjuna, Krishna moved his body this way, that way, to have the arrows hit his body instead of hitting Arjuna. Arjuna felt terrible. My Lord is being pierced with arrows of grandfather Bhishma to protect me. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And then you know what else happened. At a certain point, the chariot wheel of Arjuna fell off. And so he was trying to fix the chariot wheel, and grandfather Bhishma was getting his arrows ready to kill Arjuna. So Krishna picked up the broken chariot wheel and went charging like a Sudarshan Chakra. He doesn't need a chariot wheel. And was ready to smash grandfather Bhishma because he's breaking his vow. I will not fight. So grandfather Bhishma was so pleased. As you see in the painting, he dropped his bow, he opened his arms, smash me. Because he wanted to show what Krishna holds above what a Kshatriya does, keeping his word. Above that is protecting his devotee. He'll sacrifice anything for the sake of protecting his devotee. It's a human-like trait, but he was using a pastime with grandfather Bhishma to show what his real character is. Another closer-up painting. Similarly, and grandfather Bhishma is lowering his weapons to offer them to Krishna, to protect his devotee. Then another very interesting Mahabharata scene that's connected to what Kunti is praying is Bhishma was that there were two sons born of Shantanu and Satyavati. And those two sons were Vichitravirya and Chitrangada, two sons. So Bhishma being like the elder brother, because the father was no longer, so he was making marriage arrangement for his stepbrothers. And when it was time for the marriage of Vichitravirya, he went all the way to Kashi to get the three daughters of the king of Kashi as wives for Vichitravirya. So the little drawing here is showing he went and kidnapped them, put them in his chariot, and drove away. Haribol Prabhu, for taking your three daughters. And the other soldiers, they fought, and Bhishma defeated them. And he brought all three daughters back to Hastinapur to become wives of Vichitravirya. But there's always a problem. There was a problem. And the problem was one of those three daughters had already given her heart to Shishupal. Shishupal? Huh? Shalva. Yes, Shalva. Yes, Shalva. Thank you. Shalva. So she confided this in Bhishma. I don't want to marry Vichitravirya, but I've given my heart to Shalva. He said, okay, you can go back and you can marry Shalva, or the other daughters can stay. She went back and Shalva said no. They had already had, conversations and marriage talk and all that stuff. He had given his heart to her, but she's been touched by another man. So I can't accept you back. She was fried, as they say in modern ISKCON. I can't go to my father. I can't go here. I can't go there. So she decided to engage in severe austerities to get a benediction from Lord Shiva that she could get back at Grandfather Bhishma. So it's a very curious, kind of contemporary story. She took birth and had a sex change. They have names for that these days. But she was born as a man, but then became a woman. Shikandi. And Grandfather Bhishma wouldn't fight. So Shikandi killed Grandfather Bhishma because Grandfather Bhishma wouldn't fight someone, although he's in a male body, she's born as a female body that changed to a male body. I'm not going to kill a woman. So Shikandi was able to kill Grandfather Bhishma. Very complicated. Lots of intrigue. Then comes the last, this Jayadratha. Who's Jayadratha anyways? He's a king of the Sindhu province, or Sindh province, king of Sindh. And Jayadratha married the daughter of Dhritarashtra. We hear about the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, but did you know that he also had one daughter? The one daughter's name was Dushala. On the very day of their wedding, there they are in the chariot, driving by in the chariot on his wedding day with his new wife sitting right next to him. And he saw in the distance, there's Draupadi. And he went, woo, 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 I want Draupadi. And the day of his wedding, with his wife sitting right next to him, woo, 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 I want Draupadi. Now here's a genealogy chart, in case you're interested in genealogy. There on the left side is Dhritarashtra, and there's the 100 sons, Duryodhana, Dushasana, and 98 other sons. You see on the far left? Can you read it? The letters are small. And then there's the daughter, Dushala, who was married to Jayadrath, in the bottom left corner. Got it? And then the whole rest, I'm not going to go through the whole rest of the chart. So, the Pandavas and who they were the sons of and who their children were and so forth and so on. So Jayadrath, having just married Dushala, decides, I got to get Draupadi. Whoops. And Draupadi tried to abduct. He tried to abduct Draupadi and she punched him in the face. Good. Yeah. He made his face bloody, but he was more powerful. He tied her up to his chariot and took her away. As she was being taken away, she called out to Bhima. Ooh. Bhima got his club ready and was ready to smash him to pieces. But Yudhisthira happened to be in the vicinity, and he checked Bhima from smashing him, and instead they humiliated him, because once been honored, dishonor is worse than death, right? So how they dishonored him, they disfigured him. They cut off his hair with their sharp swords, except for little tufts here and there, and then humiliating him, declared him a slave of Yudhisthira. There you see Bhima, big powerful Bhima in the front, and they laughed at him and ridiculed him, and there's Draupadi by her side. And then he was released. Mahabharata. So with a plan for revenge, he went to a remote place high in the Himalayas, and the hair looks a little funny. Long austerities. Eventually, his hair grew. And eventually, Lord Shiva came, and he requested, or Lord Shiva gave him the opportunity for 2 boons, and here's were his 2 boons. He could defeat the boon, he wanted to defeat the Pandavas, and he said, you can't defeat Arjuna. Why you can't defeat Arjuna? He's especially favored by Krishna. So he's not going to go against Krishna's being specially favoring. You can defeat them. He didn't defeat them. And the other was, anyone who makes Jayadrath's head fall on the ground would have his own head broken into 7 pieces. That was a request, and it was granted. Weird one, isn't it? But that's what he wanted after all these austerities and the same Himalayas in the background. But so now, fast forward in time, and Jayadrath takes a position of opposition to Abhimanyu. Who is Abhimanyu? Huh?
Son of Arjuna.
Son of Arjuna. Right? Your son is confirming. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna. And during the period of exile, 1 year they were supposed to be incognito. They stayed at the palace of King Virat. Yes. But they disguised themselves, and Arjuna disguised himself as a dance teacher. You take dance, don't you? Yeah. How'd you like to have Arjuna as your dance teacher? So he was the dance teacher of King Virat's daughter. And then something happened. They figured, the Pandavas, lots of things happened. They figured out, the Kauravas figured out the Pandavas are incognito at Virat's palace. So they came and made a commotion of harassing the cows. That's part of the kingdom of the king is with cows. So Arjuna wanted to protect the cows. So he went to where his bow and arrows were kept in a hidden place in the Shamali tree and got them and defeated the whole Kaurava army. So now it was confirmed. That's where Arjuna is. They were supposed to be incognito for some time. There's the details and details. Virat was so pleased. There's details. Virat was so pleased. He wanted to reciprocate with, you're not just a dance teacher, you're Arjuna. So please accept my daughter as your husband, as your wife. Please accept my daughter as your wife. Arjuna said, I can't do that, but I have a merit because I was a teacher. The teacher can't marry a student. That's not Vedic. But I have a son. Abhimanyu is of marriageable age, and they'd make a really nice couple. So it was agreed. Abhimanyu married Uttara. Here's Arjuna dressed up as a dance teacher. And then, so they became married. Abhimanyu married Uttara, and there was a child in the womb of Uttara when the Kurukshetra battle happened on day 13. There was a big, big deal of trying to kill Abhimanyu because he was young. I don't recall his age, but like 16 something. Powerful. So what they decided to do was attack him. They ganged up on him. There is Abhimanyu, and 7, this is against the law, by the way, of Kshatriya codes, 7 generals ganged up on Abhimanyu to defeat him. Look, he's got arrows stuck in his body. Ouch. And the person who they got in a circle called a vyuha, and they were attacking him from all sides. He was so powerful, picking up chariot wheels and fighting them all off. And still the same day, there's Jayadrath. You see over there on the left, there's the Pandavas. They heard this was going on. They came to smash the 7 generals. Jayadrath, being a powerful warrior, he held back the Pandavas, while Abhimanyu, there lying on the ground, was killed by the 7 generals. This was witnessed by Arjuna. When Arjuna saw what Jayadrath had done to protect the Pandavas from stopping the death of his son, he took a vow. The vow was, tomorrow, before the sun sets, I will personally kill Jayadrath. And if I fail to kill Jayadrath before the sun sets tomorrow, I'll enter into fire. Now, the Kauravas heard the pronunciation, and they were really happy. We just have to do one thing tomorrow. Protect Jayadrath. And if Jayadrath is protected successfully, Arjuna is going to enter into fire. We don't have to kill him. Krishna is going to protect him, so we can't kill him. But if he kills himself, that's fine. They were very happy. And Krishna then asked Arjuna, why'd you take this vow? He said, because I knew you'd protect me. And sure enough, day 14 of the 18-day battle, Jayadrath is killed. There you see the armies lined up on this side and on that side, and the conch sounds and the battle begins, and Arjuna went after it with the entire hundreds of arrows firing at the Kauravas. There's Kauravas getting many of Arjuna's arrows, and he fought and fought and fought, and he made a mistake. For a little while he fought against Dronacharya, who was indefeatable, and so he decided to just work his way around Dronacharya, and he sped away from Dronacharya, and Dronacharya's looking back saying, hey, where are you going? I'm going after Duryodhana. That's where I'm going. And there's details and details and details of the fighting and arrows and clashing of the arrows and just neutralizing this arrow with that arrow. And Arjuna was such a super archer. His hands and fingers were pierced by Arjuna's arrows. Ouch. And approaching Jayadrath, the huge remaining army of the Kauravas gathered around him, ready to finish him. Look out for Bhima. He cleared the way so Arjuna could reach Jayadrath, to hear the drum roll and all the excitement. And the sun was setting. And as the sun was setting, according to Mahabharata, only minutes remained until the sun set. So what did Krishna do? He protected. Krishna raised his right hand, called the Sudarshan Chakra, and the Sudarshan Chakra immediately appeared at his outstretched finger, and he released that Sudarshan Chakra that covered the sun. It hadn't set yet, but it appeared like an eclipse that darkness enveloped the whole field. So the Kauravas thought, that's it. Day's over. Thinking the sun had set. But then suddenly, and now Arjuna's going to enter into fire and the war's over. So what did Krishna do? He withdrew his chakra and it was light again. Clearly, the sun was not set. And instantly, Arjuna, because they let their guard down, Arjuna shot his arrow, powerful special arrow, and finished Jayadrath. And when he finished Jayadrath, the arrow was infused with a certain power, Shakti, and the head, notice the arrow's hitting his head, the head of Jayadrath went flying through the air. There you see on the left, there's the rest of his body. And the head of Jayadrath fell on his father's lap. And when it fell on his father's lap, he saw the head of his son on his lap, and he was, yuck. So he threw the head on the ground. So his father's head cracked into 7 pieces. Compliments of Lord Shiva. And, it was the request of Jayadrath anyways. And here's Bhagavad Gita 1876. Wherever there's Krishna and Arjuna, there's sure to be success. Now we're going back to the Bhagavatam and Mahabharata fused together. There's Dronacharya. So Bhima is gone and they need a commander-in-chief. So Drona replaced Bhima, grandfather Bhishma, as the commander-in-chief when he was killed by Sikandi. So for 5 days, and the battle's not over yet, on this 13th day, 5 plus 13. Anyway, the battle's not over yet, but Duryodhana is going to be killed, Dronacharya is going to be killed. And it's a trick, not nice. There he is, invincible. So what did Krishna do? Krishna approached Yudhisthira and said, tell a lie. Right? Because Drona was very attached to his son. Drona's son was named Ashwatthama. So look, you never tell a lie. He'll believe you because you never tell a lie. Go tell a lie. Ashwatthama's dead. But there's an elephant named Ashwatthama. The elephant Ashwatthama was dead. Not the son Ashwatthama. He didn't say, your son. He just said Ashwatthama's dead. So when he heard that, he just didn't want to continue with his life. He was too much attached to his son. And as he put his weapons down, the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas' army was named Drishtadumna, and Drishtadumna took the opportunity to behead Dronacharya, which wasn't a nice way to end Dronacharya's life, but this is battle, and he did it. Now it's almost done, this 18-day battle, but here's day 17. And there's Krishna directing Arjuna to fire an arrow at Karna, who was fixing his chariot wheel. And that's kind of a no-no, but Krishna directed him to do it. The day before Mahabharata battle began, who was Arjuna's father? Arjuna's father is Indra, right? Indra? You sure? Me too. Okay. So Indra came to visit Karna because he knew Karna's not going to be on the opposite side. Karna's very, very powerful. I'd like my son Arjuna to be not able to not defeat you, Karna, because when Karna was born, he was born with armor. Who was Karna the son of? Sun god. So he was born with armor on his body, protective armor. So Indra came, disguised as an old Brahmin, and asked for charity. Karna was charitable. And he said, please relinquish your celestial armor. And there he goes. He's taking right in front of this disguised Indra, looking like a mendicant, and he cut off this armor. There you see, lying on the ground, this piece, that piece. And Indra was pretty amazed. He said, you have celestial capacity. Here's his words from Mahabharata. Karna, what you have done today, no ordinary mortal could have done. I'm immensely pleased with your generosity. You can ask for any benediction. Whoa. He wants to protect Arjuna. Now he's asking his chief enemy any benediction. If you are really pleased with me, then you kindly give me your Shakti weapon, which has the potential to destroy any enemy. Indra gave him the Shakti weapon on one condition, that he could use it only once, and after the weapon would be turned back to Indra. He didn't say he can't use it against Arjuna. So there he is, without his armor on his body, and his wheel got stuck. And Arjuna is now being told in this picture by Krishna, shoot him. And Karna hears this. And Karna says, what? What kind of dharmic principles do you follow? And Krishna said, when it suits you, you adamantly oppose an unjust act against yourself or against your friends, but you do not speak up against injustice to others. Where was your sense of justice when the Pandavas were cheated out of their kingdom, or when Draupadi was dragged into the assembly by her hair, or when 6 warriors surrounded Abhimanyu and cut him down? 6 or 7, whichever it was. Huh? 7? Yeah, 7. That's what I thought. I'm just as cut and paste from Krishna Dharma. 7. No, my friend, you'll be treated the way you have allowed others to be treated. So under Krishna's indication, Arjuna's Anjalika weapon chopped off his head. And when his head was chopped off, then Duryodhana, his dear friend, because Duryodhana and Karna were buddies, he was devastated. And that's the 17th day, and now it's the 18th day. Big, big, big battle between Bhima and Duryodhana, and one couldn't defeat the other, and smashing and smashing and smashing and smashing. Meanwhile, this Ashtra of Ashwatthama was there to kill the son. So, he whom Krishna protects, no one can kill. Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. You know this one? You've heard it before? Yeah? Let's say it together. Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. He whom Krishna protects, no one can kill. But if Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can give him protection. So we're almost done. Go back to what Kunti is praying. Many, many misfortunes came their way, but Krishna was always there to save them. Always there. Krishna will protect them. Raka, or Rakshishati Vishvaso, or Palana, or Raksha, same protection. This is a painting showing when Krishna decided to not take part in the battle, Arjuna wanted to stand by Krishna's feet. Duryodhana wanted to stand by Krishna's head. So he asked, what do you want? Would you like me or my armies? And the decision was made first by Duryodhana, I'll take your armies, please. And Arjuna said, no, that's fine, I just want you. That's a nice choice. So that's it for this evening, the exemplary life of Queen Kunti, some of her prayers, just one this evening. One of the prayers we didn't get to yet is what this was a cover painting for one of the teachings of Queen Kunti books. It was like the verses, then the transcription of Prabhupada's lectures on each of the verses. And they made it into a book. Teachings of Queen Kunti, or Prayers of Queen Kunti. So this one is Gange Vaugam Udavanti. So this is prayer to, may my mind, like the Ganges, flows forever, inexorably towards the sea, that my mind just flow towards you, non-stop. She wants that benediction from Krishna. It's a nice benediction. Little different kind of discussion this evening. Mix of Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam. Any discussion? Should we go back to the verse? Piari? Because there's some people online.
I don't know, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear.
In the beginning, when you were speaking, I'm going by my, first of all, imperfect memory, and I read this very, very long time ago, but in the Krishna book, about the Rajasuya sacrifice.
Yeah.
And what I remember reading was that they were deciding who should be worshipped first.
Yes.
And I think it was either Nakula or Sahadev who was saying it should be Krishna. And wasn't the war over and his Bhishma was already...
The war was over.
But Bhishma was laying on a bed of arrows.
Krishna was what?
Because you were saying Bhishma.
Yeah, I maybe I would mental lapse. But Bhishma is the one who spoke in favor of Krishna.
But how could that happen if he's lying on a bed of arrows?
Good question.
Rajasuya happens before the war.
Rajasuya happened after the war. Because there's a contention between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And how could there be a Rajasuya before the war? Was it before the war or after the war? Before? Oh.
Yeah, because Yudhishthir was king of Indraprastha.
Yes.
And then he gained popularity and they wanted to declare him
The king of the world.
Yeah. Duryodhana didn't like that, but nevertheless, they had that sacrifice.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so it was before the war.
Yeah.
And after. I would think it would be after too.
I would think it would be after. How can you have coronate him as the king before the war?
The world.
Well, here's how. how is he was entitled to become the king, and the others had usurped unrightfully, and so lawfully instead of unrightfully, he's the king. And he agreed.
But they sent people all over the world
Yeah.
to make sure everyone surrendered to Yudhisthira, accepted Yudhisthira. Why would the Kauravas accept him?
So actually, Duryodhana comes to that sacrifice and sees all the opulence. That's where
He gets
he
envious.
falls. He's fooled by a mirage, like
Yeah.
he thinks it's a swimming pool. He falls, and Draupadi laughs at him.
Not only Draupadi,
Yeah,
all the queens.
Right. But that's what I think led to that disrobing in the assembly, because he was so
Angry.
insulted.
Hmm. You have to go back and read Mahabharata. The chronology is important.
Krishna book. We have it in Krishna book, the 10th canto.
Which is say the full sentence.
We have this scene in 10th canto.
Which scene? There's many scenes.
Performance of Rajasuya Yajna.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Duryodhana being insulted.
Before the Kurukshetra battle.
Yes.
There's something about memory and getting older. Okay. We're in the same boat. Anyone else wants to discuss some points? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada writes in, I don't know which verse in Bhagavatam, but he writes Mahabharata is for less intelligent people. So then what my question is, by reading Mahabharata, these all stories, there are lessons. Then as a sadhaka, how can we use those lessons, and will that be an intelligent act?
Of course. How to is the first part, but is that an intelligent act? Of course. One of the best ways to get straight the lessons and how to apply the lessons is commentators. When we hear from and Madhvacharya's one I mentioned at the beginning, extensive commentary on Mahabharata. It's authoritative, and so we can make sure we get the right understanding of the lessons to be learned by reading his commentary on Mahabharata. And here and there, I mean, it's just a whole book just on Mahabharata. Here and there, other acharyas make reference to narrations from Mahabharata and explain, the application and implication. That's how to understand the lessons from our acharyas. I mean, some of it makes common sense. And, especially when it comes to things that are faith testers, like Krishna's asking to tell a lie, and those kinds of things. How to process that? What's the lesson there? And is Krishna to be blamed or faulted, etc.? Without going into what their acharyas say on these points, That's how we understand the lessons, through our great acharyas. We rely upon them. Is that all right? You have something further.
No, because
You got that question mark look on your forehead.
The reason is because Srila Prabhupada says the Mahabharata is for less intelligent. So I'm just trying to understand what Srila Prabhupada, when he said it is for less intelligent.
Because they're is everything okay? Zoom got disconnected. Okay, we're zoomed back again. Okay, thank you. Okay, should I respond to his question before we go to your question? Okay. There's a lot of the emphasis on philosophical and is diminished, and the emphasis on intrigue is amplified. So some persons have a hard time with philosophy. They have an easier time with stories. That's my sense. The explicit, like in the Bhagavatam, in contrast, there's many explicit statements. It's filled with it. And in Mahabharata, there are some, but it's not as prevalent, and therefore for the less intelligent. It doesn't mean it's untruths. It's just much more emphasis on Dharma. Of course, like Ramayana is filled with Dharma also. Dharma and adharma, both. And consequences of Dharma and consequences. Worldly teachings, but, how to live a virtuous life. And not as much emphasis on transcendental life. I mean, let's put it this way. When Vyasadeva had completed compiling all the Vedas, and he was feeling despondent, the one thing that was left was Bhagavatam. So one of the things that was already done, including the Upanishads and all the Shrutis, but was Mahabharata. And so there's nothing within let's say it this way, same thing, within this vast body of history, itihasa, there's the Bhagavad Gita. And that's the philosophical portion in this vast treatise on the history of Greater India. And some people like histories. Who did it to whom? And then what happened? And they it can be taken simply like that. That's not what it's meant for. Krishna is there. Okay. The less intelligent, that's your question. Are you okay, or you want to go with it some more? Okay. Mataji?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Just want to know that when we are going through some crisis in life, or we see other relatives or devotees, when they are going through some difficulties, is it okay to pray to Krishna to protect them and protect ourselves? But same time, we don't want to ask Krishna to trouble Krishna to protect, because we are anyway.
Both are right.
Because same time we know that Krishna is the Supreme Father.
Yeah, he'll take care of everything. You don't have to ask, Daddy, it's cold out. Can I have a jacket? Daddy's got 3 jackets. But you can ask Daddy for a jacket. It's okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
You follow?
What's that, Maharaj?
You can ask Dad for a jacket in the cold weather. It's okay. That was the first part of your question. I'm hungry. Can I have another spoonful of sabji? Yeah, sure. Should I not ask Krishna for anything? I mean, he's ready to supply. He's got a big warehouse of jackets and subjis and everything. And everything that everybody needs. Yoga Kshema Vahamyam. But is it okay? Yes, okay. We don't want to bother him. Yeah, that's right. Don't ask, and there's the 3 jackets. Which one do you want? You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, Maharaj.
It's okay. Now, there's a couple of problems. Multiple, but here's a couple. Supposing you pray X and X doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen. You wait a while, and then Y starts to happen, and Z starts to happen. But X didn't happen. I know some people, you probably do too. Krishna isn't their order supplier, but they want Krishna to be their order supplier. And when Krishna isn't their order supplier, there's something wrong with him. I mean, that's a risk. And he gives X, and it's temporary anyways. And then it's gone. And the X just went away because it's temporary. So that's the second part to your question. But we shouldn't bother him, because what should you bother him for? Let's do what Kunti is, that my thoughts always flow to you. And that's not temporary.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It's okay. I mean, it's a common question because it happens in life. There's difficulties and duality to deal with. Krishna's protection will always be there for his surrendered soul. That's a fact. And Kunti's confirming it in this verse. You have something? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is very common question, right? About Kunti's prayer. Like whenever we discuss Kunti's prayer, many devotees little hesitate to recite these verses because one of the verses, Kunti Maharani
Let the
asks for
calamities happen
problems.
again and again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So devotee says that no, we should not recite because
Skip it.
if the problems comes in our life,
Recite all the
So-
other ones. Recite all the other ones. Because calamities are going to come anyways, right? Whether you ask for them or you don't ask for them. Just like happiness will come without asking for it, calamities will come without asking for it. But it's okay. It depends on your bhakti. You probably know this, but I'll say it anyways because there may be some people in the room that don't. There's, in one of Sanatana Goswami's writings, Brihat Bhagavatamrita Part 1 and 2, in Part 1, Narada is on a quest sent by other brahmanas. Who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord? You know that, right? Brihat Bhagavatamrita. It's a quest literature, searching for who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. Without lots of details, there's lots of details. But at one point, he's going to the Pandavas. He goes to Hastinapur. And when he reaches the Pandavas, they're busy. They're having a Pandava conference, planning what their next calamity is going to be. Because when things are nice, Krishna goes. Same with Kunti's prayers. When Krishna goes, then we don't want Krishna to go. So better to have calamity, because with the calamity, then Krishna will come. And we'll see him, and we'll get to interact with him and be in his care and protection. So that's what's a good calamity to have. And you can say it the other way. You get the idea. So somebody may say like that. I had never heard anybody say like that, but if you've heard people say like that, they can leave that prayer out. But the calamities will come anyways. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's got the microphone? You had something. You had something? Didn't you raise your hand? Oh, okay. We have something online? No. Anything in the room? Okay.
Hare
Don't go
Krishna
too
Maharaj.
far away. Yeah.
At the beginning, you mentioned that Swargaloka and also Vaikuntha Loka going there. Pandavas, they were going in Mahabharata. It has been mentioned they went to the Swargaloka. At the beginning, I think.
Yeah. I remember.
And author is the Vyasa Deva for both books.
That's right.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well, you're answering his question. You get it, right? You were here at the beginning?
No.
No. Okay. At the beginning, I was saying there's what's the correlation between Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam? That was the topic I brought up because this verse was about both, a mix. And I said that Bhagavatam for us is the Supreme Court, the Amala Pramana, the topmost evidence. It said a number of other things. But so one of the distinctions, for example, is where did the Pandavas go after their Krishna's pastimes? Mahabharata says they went to heaven. Correct? You're not sure. Yes? Huh?
Yeah, that's what you said. Like Mahabharata says that.
They went to heaven.
Yeah.
And the Bhagavatam says they're eternal associates of Krishna. They're with Krishna, wherever Krishna is. So there's a distinction. Now that's what he's asking.
So I was thinking like a 2 point of view. In India, it is a customs that if someone is dying, no matter what pious or sinner, their rights are, if they are requesting, then they do right like a resident of the Swargaloka. Means
Resident of what?
Swargaloka, after dying. Swargavasi.
Swarga.
Swargavasi means they will write.
Swargavasi.
Yeah,
Okay.
Swargavasi. And sometimes, very rarely, they do write like a
Vaikunthavasi.
Vaikunthavasi. So, means Mahabharata is written for the common man. So common.
Yeah, that's why I said your question is an answer to your question is an answer to his question.
So that is for common man program, and this is for the Bhakta program.
Yeah. Got it? That's just an example. It's not, the sum total, but it's an example of what you're asking.
In one sense, they could both be correct. If Krishna went to the heavenly planets,
Sure.
then they went there too.
Sure. But it's a perspective. When you're emphasizing dharma, perform prescribed duties, the consequence is heaven. And then bhakti means that the Pandavas are unalloyed devotees. They go to Krishna, wherever Krishna is. Anything else? Yes?
So when it comes to manifesting the highest devotion and love for Krishna, Mother Yashoda has the maternal love, and seems like Kunti Maharani has also exhibiting the same devotion and love. Is there a difference between these two
Oh, yeah.
exalted personalities in their mallows and love?
Oh, yeah. Just keeping it in simple language, lots of emphasis on Aishwarya with Kunti, and lots of emphasis in Madhurya with Mother Jasoda. Did that answer your question? You want to hear something more? Okay. You made a face like... Krishna showed his opulence to Mother Jasoda again and again. You know, the classic is looking inside his mouth. And she saw what she saw when she looked, when she saw. He showed his opulence. But because of the kind of love that's filled with madhurya, she thought, I'm seeing things. What's going on here? Better go lie down. So she couldn't believe her eyes. Or Krishna's lifting Govardhan Hill. He's showing his opulence. But they couldn't see it the way that those that see the opulence of the Lord see when he displays his opulence. So there's Vatsalya rasa filled with awe and veneration, which doesn't go on in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, it's just veneration. It's just awe and reverence. Narayan doesn't have a mother.
Mother Yashoda like notch higher.
Yeah. In terms of rasa, that sweetness that she's experiencing, and so there are different ways of saying who's higher. And that's one of them. It's the one that Gaudiyas mainly used to look at differences. The intensity of love without looking up with awe and veneration. All the residents of Braja. You're familiar with this. You're making a face again.
Yes. So is Kunti not an eternal associate?
She's the mother of the Pandavas. The Pandavas are eternal associates for sure. Whether Kunti is a post or an eternal associate, I don't know anything from scripture that says one way or the other. Likely, but I don't know anything from scripture that says one way or the other. But even if it's a post or if she's an eternal associate, there's not a whole bunch of difference, because there's the affection like she has for her sons, she has even stronger for Krishna. And she sees Krishna as the supreme. She doesn't see her sons as the supreme. So she has affection for Krishna like a son, parental affection, and mixed with the opulence of the Supreme Lord. And Mother Jasoda doesn't have that mixed with the opulence of the Supreme Lord view. It's not in her. That's the distinction. It's a rasa distinction. It's not a purity distinction. It's a rasa distinction.
Thank you.
Okay. You have something. Yeah. We'll take one question more and then I'm going to do the 23 skidoo.
Guru Maharaj, I was just appreciating how Kyun Kunti is going into the details of not just her own lives, but her son's daughter-in-law. I feel like that culture is gone, where we are pausing and reflecting on what's happening in our own lives and in others' life. And especially I'm thinking of, as an educator, like training children, they're not trained how to deal with calamities either. So the immediate response is quit when calamities come to them. And I'm thinking of different ages and how they respond and react to it. There's not much training or education given on what happens when calamities strike at different levels. So I'm just wondering, like, if you could throw some light to how in our own lives we can learn that and also help in children's, because we as adults, like, there's some life experience and some Krishna conscious training, but I see that the children struggle with that. Like, this immediate response is quit. So how
Or fight. Fight or flight.
Right.
How to pass on the center is Krishna. So younger generation people that you're working with, who's at the center? Not Krishna. Whatever else it is, maybe family or friends, but it's not Krishna. So there's no basis and support for resiliency. It's their resources and their friends' resources or family's resources. So they may go to mommy and cry to mommy, or to their friend, or fight for your rights and, scream or whatever they, people do these days. So the center is missing. How, as an educator with your own family, is quite different than that outside your family. But with your own family, it's that life that you live. You model what Krishna at the center means. What does it look like? How does it feel like? And there's affection for family members or amongst family members, natural affection, and to the degree to which Krishna is at the center of that affection, it gives resiliency. And to the degree that it's not there, then it's dependent upon their resources or those close to them, their resources combined with their resources. But there's no center, there's no basis and support. And then, in school, how you're a secular society, you can't explicitly, but you can, by your demeanor and your character, you display it. You live it. I've had experience with teachers and other educators. They're at some point they're asked a question, like, what is it with you? And when you ask a question, then you can give an answer. Then it's personal. You're not proselytizing or pushing your ism on somebody. You're just, what's with you? And people, I've heard it asked, or had educators being asked that question. And then they can say. And sometimes it's to peers, and sometimes it's to the students. But you model it. No, and somewhere in between is what I've understood. I don't know what the language is in today's education system, but value education. They can't say spiritual, so in a secular society, it's value education. So you teach values, but they're also, it's increasing the quality of goodness, without all the details of what goodness looks like, and you teach values, live your life value-centered. But they're not God-centered, so it's insubstantial. And the atmosphere degrades what is a value anyways. What to speak of supporting that value. So in a secular society, education, or society in general, it's a downward spiral. So as an educator in a public school system, you just have to model it. And there may be some, I don't know, you could suggest through the system that exists? Is there a space over there for something more than value education? Because if I want to teach value education, I can't. It's not conscionable to me that the what's the basis of value, because it changes over time, doesn't it? And so, what's the standard? Time and vox populi, or is there a standard? Yeah, I don't know the public school system these days, and can you do anything other than model it? I mean, maybe, I'm just thinking out loud, but maybe there's such a thing as clubs. The people that want that, there's a place they can go to get that. And, I can facilitate, or I can lead, or I can, help make sure that they don't get off track and go into cuckoo land. But maybe there's some facility like that. I don't know. And I imagine different places are different as well. Okay, looks like we're done. What? One question online. Okay.
This is from Amara Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Is rasa discrimination based on which rasa Krishna likes more?
No. The question is rasa a distinction based upon which Krishna likes more? Does he like Mother Yasoda more than the cowherd boys? Does he like Radharani more than he likes Mother Yasoda? Is it rasa based upon what Krishna likes more? That's the question, right? It's rasa means a mellow, an exchange of joy. It's an exchange. It's not one-sided. It's in one has a happiness, and Krishna's happiness is everything. It includes everything. Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhupada Ki. I know you have a class tomorrow evening. He already invited me, but I have a flight tomorrow morning and I have to leave early. So I'm going to sneak out the side door and get my shoes and get in the car and say Haribol. I brought with me some Mahaprasadam from Radha Shamasundar in central New Jersey. And I'm going to walk around and give out some Mahaprasadam and then